there's some things that I wanted to talk about the future. As I'm a splenic projector with the Gate 57, um, there's a lot of stuff that happens to me that has to deal with the future. Um, and, otherwise, I mean, it's just talking about the future, hoping to influence the collective in some way, because otherwise it's just me living my own individual life, right? Um, but my cross here, my kind of like my purpose here is to influence in some way for the future that's coming, and to spread the insights that I get uh, somehow, so I could get out there and influence the future that's coming. And this future is going to be a long, long time in the making, a very long time in the making. Um, but it's important. The way I see the future is that I'm like connected to it. So for me, even though it's so far away, I feel it almost as if it's like next door. Because I get glimpses of the future. I get glimpses about what's coming, and what we what what we like, a guidance of what we have to do to get there, or not what we have to do, but it's something about saying it that makes it get out there and have an impact, that impacts how it turns out in the future. So I've had a lot of recent experiences. I've said in my other video about the future and the glimpses that I get. You know, part of my individual life is following physical signs because I'm a splenic slash psychic projector. Although I'd say it's more just, what being splenic means is that I get these signs, physical signs, specifically in my own individual life, to guide me, and in order to guide, the wider world, the wider global society, is I get glimpses of the past and of the future in a kind of narrative, the kind of like, glimpse here, glimpse there, or whatever. So what I found recently, what I was getting recently, and what my personal guides were helping me with, is trying to understand what is it that I saw. And I already mentioned about how the G center is important, because it is the center that connects us all and disconnects us all, makes the illusion of us a separate one in our incarnation. The G center in our body makes us an individual being, but taken out of that, we are actually connected, coming from a similar source, the same source. And the way I saw that is that's what gives us the feeling of love and connection that we all have towards each other. But that's not an always thing. You're also in this world. Once you're incarnated, you're separate. You're incarnated to love yourself as well, in who you are and how you were created and how you were designed. But you also carry that love and connection for others. So that was like a big thing, because when we realize that, not through just learning it, not through just a concept in our minds, but when we actually learn that through our evolution, our progression, um, in the cycles that are coming, once we become aware of that with each other, because we become actually more like intuitive, more emotional, more aware. Once we become aware of that, that's what will lead to a society, a new system, if you want to call it. It's not even a system, it's an organic way of organizing ourselves, that relies on peace. What people usually, how these new age spiritualists like to define things, as we come from the same source, we're in the process of ascension, we're gonna have Christ consciousness, like all of this stuff. That is what they're referring to. That awareness, when we become aware of that, we're actually in deep inside of us, we come from the same source, but we're actually incarnated individually, and as individuals we also love ourselves. We're also independent. That's the Aquarian part. We're also independent, and we deserve good things. We deserve good things, not inequality, not suffering, not all this stuff. We all deserve good things, and we should be able, in our world, once we become aware, to take care of everybody. Everybody should be taken care of, because we're all one. We're just separated into individuals, but we're all one at source. So that's like a very, very important thing, that's coming up, and that's just like a human design way of explaining it, and a very simple way of explaining it, without all these like religious and stuff concepts like Christ consciousness or something like that. I understand why they call it Christ consciousness, because I think Jesus was an example of this kind of awareness, with his G center, and I think it's actually sometimes symbolized, with the flaming heart, or anything focusing around here, which used to be the heart chakra, and now it's like our G center. But that's where the universal love is, our self-love and universal love, and it's actually in our gates, the gates that are in the G center, the love for humanity, and the love for ourselves. So that's very important. And like I said, I would just want to mention that these are clues. I have no idea how things will turn out. I just know that part of my gifts is getting these clues and being able to communicate them and spread them, because they have some sort of impact. So, or that's my intuition, that they have a sort of impact. The other thing is that I had a conversation with my guides, and I was trying to, like, other than, everyone is going to be taken care of, in our future world, once our evolution happens, our evolution in awareness, which also includes evolution in emotional awareness. So that G center is very important, and then the solar plexus and its mutation is also important. That's just me guessing. I don't have too much insight into that, and well, I do have insight from my own experience and how emotions bring a kind of awareness that for me has been like spiritual, like a spiritual mystical awareness. It's like part of being separate is also all these like separate parts that we have, separate parts in us, and emotional awareness is very important, um, because it connects us to something higher. It's not just, oh, I'm crying. In crying, in purging, in releasing, there's something very spiritual in it. By spiritual, I mean metaphysical, like beyond, something beyond, that affects me and affects something higher, uh, something higher, something beyond. So that's also part of the awareness that is coming to, and Ra said it's a mutation. Um, so I guess I was saying, other than that, when I was talking to my guides, um, what we were talking about is like trying to understand what I saw and having some sort of guidelines or idea of it. This is just a way for us to understand. I was talking about it um, as laws because I connected it to how in like the story of Moses, and when he was talking to God, something beyond, and trying to help the people below. Uh, he was given like laws or commandments about correct behavior. Well, not correct behavior. Well, something like that, correct behavior. But it was like you shouldn't do this. Like you don't know why. You're not aware yet. You don't have the awareness yet. We don't have the collective awareness yet of why you shouldn't do these things. Like, thou shalt not kill. Like we have so much awareness now that we know you shouldn't kill. Like that's bad. And we have like a conscious awareness, not like consciousness, but also in our G center, our solar plexus center, whatever center that makes you feel this is not right. You shouldn't kill another person. But the whole point is, but during that time it was more like innocent and like loose to, just trying out whatever. Um, so what I was seeing is that at least in that story that Moses gave those laws to the people from God, because they weren't aware yet. They didn't have that consciousness or that feeling to not do those things. They hadn't learned yet, so they were given laws, and to protect them. So it was just me, talking with my guys, thinking about things, and these are not actual laws. These are laws. These are not actual laws, like external laws where you get punished. This is more for oneself. What I found is that I have like an idea that the G Center actually holds what's wrong or right in each of us for ourselves. Because if you felt that feeling where it's like, oh no, I shouldn't do that, where it's like you're doing something, it's like, oh no, I shouldn't do that. You feel it, that it's wrong. So what I found, some like to put it into laws, even though they're not going to be laws, it's going to be felt. It's going to be a conscious awareness of this, that in the future there's not, the first one was that there's not going to be any animal cruelty. That doesn't mean we won't get to eat other animals. The visuals that I was getting or referring to more is that we're just not going to have animal cruelty. That's one big thing that's kind of hidden in our life, of the cruelty that exists for other animals in this world, so we can eat. when there's so many of us, billions of people, and we eat every day, some animal or something like that, there's some cruelty in how they're treated. There's no sacredness, there's no respect, there's just like straight up cruelty so we can eat because it's a system. The whole point of the system is to keep it going, feed us, keep working, keep society and the world, moving like an engine. So that animal cruelty is going to stop it, like a law that there should not be any animal cruelty. That we should respect them more as beings, as beings. Just because they don't have the same things as us, like the same ajna center or throat center, or same capabilities as us, that doesn't mean we should treat them like shit. And that's already something that a lot of us feel as obvious, that you shouldn't treat animals like that, to have cruelty like that. The other one was it was like the inadvertent cruelty that we have for some types, like the non-energy types. It's unintentional, but it is difficult, like from my own experience in keeping the system alive and keeping myself alive, because that's the exchange, right? You give your work energy, and you get money from that to survive. And I'm talking about for most people, if you're a YouTuber, artist, or something like that, that's different. But not like, it's not like I'm an artist or anything. As just a simple person, just like everyone else, but I'm a projector type. It's the unintentional assumption that I'm like everyone else, like a generator or a manifester. But that's not the case, and so there's some unintentional cruelty that can happen, depending on where you are and where you're working and stuff like that. I know I've had to work myself up, through a lot of like pain and struggle to get myself to work a regular, 8-hour day, and a week, 8 hours a day for a week work, sometimes 6 days. And that took a lot of pain for me to get to the level where my body was adjusted to being able to work that amount like everyone else does. And it felt really, really, really bad. Yeah, it felt really, really bad in my body, like dying. But I was able to, with the help of my guides, I was able to like work up a strength to kind of like train my body to get adjusted to work. But I still get breaks. They also taught me, I usually can work like 3 months before I have to take a break for myself. And so they tell me when I can take a break. So like right now I'm on a break. I'm currently not working, and I'm planning to get back to work at some point. But it took like a few months of it was a struggle to get to that point. That's what I'm saying, where I don't feel that much pain anymore, but it was horrible at first. But yeah, so that unintentional cruelty towards non-energy types, projectors and reflectors, is going to end. Um, because from what I was getting is that the our sustenance for living is not going to be dependent on just if you work or not. You know, you surviving in the world and being fed and having a home is not going to be dependent just on work. Um, and so, what was I going to say? Like, so yeah, so that's gonna get rid of that. The law is, um, it's like the law would be like you don't have to work to make you you're not gonna have to work to live. But if you do want to work, because I know there's people, generators, who because of their aura they have to work and do things that they want to do to expend their energy. Um, so that so that's gonna be the difference. Uh, and as an ancillary to that law, it's gonna be that you're not the work that you do is not gonna be work that you don't want to do. So it's gonna be work like for generators especially. It's gonna be work that you want to do naturally. That it's work that you value and you want to do, and you would feel that by the 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 feeling you get in your sacral. Because there's people who do work that nobody asked them to do, and they still do it, and that's because it's in them to do that kind of work that is uh, beneficial for them. That it's their life energy. That's what they love doing, and so based on that, um, I mean, it's just gonna be like based on the work that you want to do, and there's so many things that people like doing, whether it's taking care of others, whether it's um, I saw some guy on a YouTube yesterday talking about how he loves making tortillas. I was like, wow, he loves making tortillas, so that's what he wants to do. At least right now he loves making tortillas. He says he makes a living off of that. Um, so there's so many things we like doing, and when you consider generators, when you consider them, they're gonna do what they love doing, and stuff is gonna get done because of them and because of manifestors. So yeah, you're not gonna do work that you don't want to do. Period. In our system now, it's based on keeping the system running. So there's a lot of work that is available where no that a lot of people don't want to do. So, but it has to be done, and what's more important is surviving to make a living. And so, there you go. I think that was it. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.